series as well. And I'm joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey everybody.
He is the creator of Eve of Insurrection and Eve of Reclamation, as well as the graphic artist and illustrator of the Ancient Illumination graphic novel volumes, as well as the Yambani Chronicles comic, Genesis the Chaos Master, which will be out very, very soon as we're on the home stretch.
Yep.
So there'll be links to that stuff in the description of the episode. So please check those out when you get a chance. We are here to discuss the legend of Vox Machina now that season 2 is back and we're tackling 2 episodes at a time. Last week we talked about episodes 1 and 2. Now we are talking about episodes 3 and 4. So Sunken Tomb and Those That Walk Away. I want to let you know, spoiler alert, if you haven't caught up and watched up until that point, season 2, click off here, then go watch those, and there'll be plenty of places you can catch the audio later. Um, I think you were mentioning offline that you were missing. You were glad that this show was back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed like we spent so much time their arc. I guess their group arc. Their
yeah,
as a group has evolved. They've gotten more. They've grown. They've grown to be more cohesive. So it's really awesome to see kind of how they work together. And we're familiar with their personality. So it's just refreshing to see all these characters.
yeah.
Scanlan,
This episode was cool.
Brock.
They open up with a flashback, basically. Well, not a flashback. They open up with a vision. Pike's vision of Taldore, which is apparently
Dragons. Yeah.
being mollywopped by the dragons, and somehow she says the light gave her this vision watching this other town getting eviscerated, and Thordak, the dragon, is overseeing everything. We see the dragons come down, and they have this little talking moment. I find it funny though that they say like dragons didn't work together, but there's clearly a hierarchy because they're referring to this Thordak dragon as my king and whatnot. So
Yeah, because he must be that guy, but he broke the precedent. So now it's
yeah.
whoa, this guy must be powerful.
And from the episodes prior, Osissa, the Sphinx, what's the name of like the little syndicate that she oversees? The take.
They mentioned it at the. They literally. I think they mentioned at the end of
Yeah, the take. Well, the
in the
Sphinx
middle of the
sent
third
them to
episode.
find these group of talismans that they'll need to fight off the dragons, and
Hmm.
the vestige of divergence is the first one. I don't know about you, but I was getting Willow vibes, like the cuirass, the set of armor that they were looking for.
Yeah.
And so now they're trying to find this tomb, and they're trying to find the vestige, a set of
Hmm.
armor for them to get, in addition to all the weapons they're going to need to fight the dragons. This is just the first of, I'm assuming, many of the other things that she listed.
Yep.
And they're at this lake trying to figure out where to find this tomb, and they can't find it. Uh, and Vex is obviously like before they even walk off, he's overprotective of Vax, like off the top.
Hmm.
Um, and we find out that the tomb ends up being below the lake when Cash and Zara, two characters from that, I guess, mercenary guild that supposedly Vex owed money,
Yep.
shows up,
Yep.
and they team up to basically find this tomb. And it's obviously they're being sneaky. They kind of snuck up on them when they were talking about everything after
Hmm.
Scanlan tried to skate
Stan was
across.
skating across ice. Did he say something about a foot fetish?
Yeah, he did say something about a foot fetish. The comedy, as usual, is good in this show. They're keeping it light for the most part until we get to the dead heavy moments where they're fighting and people getting injured and whatnot.
Hmm.
Uh, Cash and Zara say, "Yeah, we'll help you out as soon as you make a campfire." So they make a campfire. Then there's the showing off of trinkets, which will become a prevalent thing later on. Actually, the next episode, the showing
Hmm.
off of trinkets.
Hmm.
They're going back and forth. Her and obviously, Zara and Vex don't like each other, and she's like, "Oh, you got that nice necklace or whatever it is. Where did you get it?" And she's like, "I had to fight a demon for it, basically. But don't worry, I'm sure you have something." And so they're like showing off to each other. Uh, she gets mad because Scanlan spills the beans. He's like, "Oh, that crap we got from Gilmore's. Like we've got some things too." And so it's like they didn't. I guess it's not as sexy because they didn't go on some treasure hunt and fight some monster to get these
Hmm.
trinkets. They just took it from a store, basically after it was destroyed or nearly so, when the Gilmore was like, look, just take everything because the whole town is about to
It seemed
destroy.
like he was about to charge him some price for it, but just take it. Like, come on,
Yeah.
bro, y'all got messed up.
So over the campfire, they're going over the lore behind this tomb. We find out it's the tomb of the goddess of death, uh, the matron Raven, the
Hmm.
matron of ravens, who's the goddess of death in this world, and the body of her champion is supposed to be in this tomb. Uh, so those two are basically the two from the guild are explaining all of this, and they have a flashback of Vex and Vax when they're younger. And it's kind of a weird, like, so we're basically learning about the attachments they kind of have to each other. And apparently their elven father was a jerk and he was kind of horrible and calls them diluted. So I mean, does that mean
Half
they're
breed,
supposed to be,
hit him with the half breed. Like, whoa.
yeah, like, are they mixed race elves? Is that what, so they're diluted and so they don't understand the value of the
Y'all
elven
not
lore?
y'all. They weren't born in elven culture, right, or something like that. Isn't that what he said? They weren't born in the culture, engulfed
Well,
in the culture, or something like
yeah.
that.
I don't know if it was
But
the fact they
you,
weren't born, but they obviously have some type of mixed heritage. That's the only reason I can see for him calling them diluted.
right? I mean, but did he procreate with the non-elf though? That's what's you.
That
I
that we
mean,
don't. Yeah,
if y'all a dad, or are you really their dad? I don't
yeah. I
know,
don't
but he
know.
was
That
he
we
was
don't
rough.
know. Yeah. So we see that Vax basically after his sister is insulted by the father, he just decides we just gonna bounce. We don't need to take this. You can't talk to her like that, and let's roll. And they leave. And I think I don't know. It seems like part of Vex is kind of regretting that. Seems like because she wanted to give Pops a chance for some
I mean,
reason.
he also didn't. Vax didn't seem confident what he was doing. You can like tell in kind of his like facial reactions that he also feels weird about like taking her away. But he's
Yeah,
just like, all right, I'm going with it. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
it's gonna get rough for y'all.
So they give us little lore nuggets about Vex and Vax and their past. When they flash back forward, they team up with Cash and Zara to open up the tomb, and the only way they pull this like Moses moment where
It was dope.
Keyleth and Zara team up and basically split
Part
the
the
lake
seas.
open so that they can walk down into this underwater tomb, which didn't make any sense because once you go in there and it closes back up, like, isn't water just gonna flood back inside? Is this place like sealed
Well,
off?
it's obviously a sealed off tomb that only you can pull the door to open
Yeah,
instead of
because
pushing.
we skipped over that was kind of funny when they were going through the
Yeah.
crickets and Grog puts on that belt and grows a beard.
Oh yes, that
My
was the
boy was
greatest
getting some
thing.
serious Kratos vibes when he put it on, and then you see the beard develop, and he's got the tattoos, bald headed. He always
Yep.
got the
Yep.
gray, ashy skin. He's like, I have a beard. And I think Andrea in the group chat she mentioned that it was one of her favorite parts. So I have a
Yes.
beard.
Oh, it
That
was.
was hilarious. Grog had me rolling, but yeah, Scanlan's the one that lets him know, like, hey, this one's a pull because he's about to try and kick the door in, and obviously it's not a push. He's like, hey, buddy, I think this one's a pull. And he
That's
pulls the door.
oh.
And Vex every step of the way is trying to tell everybody this is like some Indiana Jones type Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah,
There's
he's
no
like, watch out for the
He's
traps.
like,
He's like
watch out.
inspecting the traps.
Yeah, don't touch nothing. Be very slow. My boy Groggy just sees, hey, a big little brick sticking up from the floor. My man
Right.
decides he's going to step on it. Lets loose a bunch of swinging axes. And Vax looks back like, what are you doing? Like, oh, he set off one of the traps. He's like, you're welcome. Like that was a good thing. This was pretty predictable for the most part, I think, when they were walking through the tomb.
Yeah, that was
And
supposed to be.
Cash and Zara were kind of hanging back from the rest of the main group. It was obvious that they were going to try and betray them at some point. Uh, they're letting them get into the traps. And that's what Zara even comments, like, because Cash says, hey, we're losing them. They're getting way too ahead of us. And she's like, nah, maybe we're just letting them take the brunt of it. Like, we can let them suss out the traps and get injured, and we can hang back and then come in afterwards, is basically what she's thinking.
Yep.
So there's basically a betrayal at that point. And then they just disappear. Like the fish people come back that we didn't mention that
Oh yeah, we
Scavengers.
got to get into that awesome fight scene with the fish people,
The fish
and
people, yeah,
Grog was like wielding. He was using
that
the
sword.
blood, the dark deep, whatever, the dark powered sword, and like sucking the blood out of. Every time he would cut somebody up, it would absorb blood, and then his eyes were getting bloodshot. He was like kind of like changed. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's vampiric. So it's
Yeah,
because
wow.
when they stole it, they took it off the vampire they killed from the first season.
Yep.
And yeah, as it's stealing, you can hear it going more as it has the people.
Like
And the only
Adam
one that
Driver, more,
yeah,
more.
the only one that really seems to notice is Pike. She
Yep.
noticed like, oh, Grog is tripping right now. What? And then yeah, he's tripping. He's going through his kills and getting a extra bit of bloodlust while everybody's fighting these crazy amphibious, like underwater people that have come from the lake that hunted dusk, I think, or something. So they said they had to wait till morning to try and go back into this tomb. Uh, they finished them off. They finally had what they had, like of course they had a mage. They
They
had like
had
a
their own
wizard.
mage who was throwing water, and Kiki wasn't really good with water, so
No,
she made it
no.
work with the air.
Yeah, she was getting mollywopped. Everybody was getting whooped at first until finally there was enough of a distraction for Vex to shoot him in the head with an
A
arrow.
headshot.
We get a funny transition where Vex saves Zara and then immediately needs to be saved in return, and Zara returns the favor and saves her before everybody else kind of catches up. And then homegirl Zara and Cash disappear on them. They just
Yeah, I was like, when they activated something, like went into, I don't know if they went to like a base of a statue, they went to another area, and I'm like, are they like? I was kind of confused. I was like, are they going on another like their own little journey to like find something else, or they like I didn't know what was happening. That part was a little confusing.
I thought at first that they knew where they were going.
Yeah, me
And
too.
since these, the group Vox Machina may not have known the whole layout of
Hmm.
the tomb, but perhaps the Sphinx Osisa told them the exact location where everything was. But we find out that's not true later. They just because it was like they walked in, there's a bunch of columns, and they just picked one. Seemed like they picked one
Yeah,
and
I just want to
opened
touch
up
this
for
thing
them.
and then
They
open up
walked.
a door and go. I'm like,
Yeah, they just left, and then Vax is like, "Yo, don't touch
don't.
nothing. I'll be right back."
Touch
And like
nothing.
you knew in that moment somebody was going to touch
Oh, of
something,
course.
and so he like has to almost parallel down on the line. He's like going down into this hole in the ground,
Yep.
and Percy and Vex is upstairs, like
Percy.
yo, some
What's
pretty
this?
cool, interesting stuff. There's what's this? And then he finds like some hexagonal stone and turns
Yep.
it, clicks, and it pops the sarcophagus up, which must mean that that was the body of the champion.
Mm-hmm.
And something sprays out at Vex, kills her.
Leave it off right
Andrea,
there. Cut the
yeah,
pod. Kills
yeah,
her.
yeah,
Dead.
kills her. Andrea
Stressed
wanted us to let y'all know that she was hating on Vex,
the entire
and then in
time.
her words, she said, "The bitch died." She was upset.
I was upset. I was like, we're doing this. This is
Yeah,
sad. I was like, this is sad. This is stressful. I'm like, is this a
especially because
permadeath?
they're kind of teasing out the attachment that Vax
Yeah,
had.
yeah. It was so
The
it
whole
was set up
time
well.
we're getting the background of these set of twins and how deep his attachment to his twin sister is, and they take her from him in the show. So we're like, oh, this is gonna cut deep, and there's probably gonna be irrevocable damage, to Vax going
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
And there is, but not in the way that we think. Because that's the way that episode ends. They end it right there where he's crying over her fallen body, and everybody around Pike is trying to heal her. Nothing's working. He's crying, and then at the very end, we get the flashback again of them. Because they were kind of fussing at each other, Vex and Vax as younger people. Um, and she's like, "Stop trying to tell me what I need." And then later on, She finds my boy off in the thicket crying to himself because she had left him. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "You left me." And he's crying like, "You don't need me. I need you." So that kind of even drives
Yeah.
the point further home. And then they run into end credits.
Mm.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back to pick this up as they talk about episode 4, Those Who Walk Away. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the second half of the Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake, and I'm joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
And yeah, so we're continuing the talk where we're moving on to the 4th episode, Those Who Walk Away. The last episode ended with Vex's death, surprisingly. And this episode opens up with another flashback. So they're teasing us even further with this
Give me these flashbacks.
history, these flashbacks where looks like Vex was trapped somewhere, or some poachers got to her and trapped her, and
Oh,
Vex
the bear.
opens the cell, and
Hmm.
then we see how they get Trinket, the
Yeah,
bear.
bear.
Yeah, so they have to break into another cell to hide from whoever these poachers are, and of course there's something big in the shadows. You see, it looks like it's riddled with arrows, and it ends up being a bear. But the bear is injured. Like it's
That bear ain't
growling
gonna
and a little
make you.
weird. Yeah, I saw Vex like reaching her hand out like she was finna pet it or let the thing. I'm like, it's gonna take your damn hand off. And then they realize it's suffering, that the bear has been hurt, and they cut away. But I think it's assumed that Vax ended its suffering because you see him
No,
kneel
no,
down.
I thought she did it.
No, he's knelt down, and you see him raise up his sword or blade, and then they
Oh, I
cut
thought.
back and the animal
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
still. And then that's after they've done that, they hear something else, and there's a bear cub, and
Mhm.
Vex picks up the bear cub. So that's how they get Trinket, who now has a helmet and runs them, around with them everywhere. And so we flash back forward into the future where Vex is dead, and they're all fussing. Cash and Pike are trying to team up to resurrect her now because they've gone beyond
Mhm.
healing. She's like, there's nothing to heal.
She
Like
gone.
she gone. She dead. So now they're trying to resurrect her. Cash does some little spell where he draws some runes in the ground, and this golden like globe of cocoon envelops her body,
Mhm. Mhm.
and nobody sees but Vax. He can see the shadows build, and the matron of ravens walks into the room,
I love
into
that
because
scene.
it's in her tomb, and that's the reason
Yeah.
why I guess the resurrection spell doesn't work, is because she's a goddess.
Yeah, they say that. They openly say it. They were like, "Her, this is her domain. Our gods are not here, or whatever." And then also, you can see like her feather actually lands on the protection circle, and
The
that's what
cocoon, yeah,
deactivates it first. Like the circle itself, it deactivates it, and it messes up the cocoon. I was like, "Yep."
yeah,
I don't know how y'all getting out of this one. I don't know how this
yeah.
gonna
It
work.
breaks it, and you also see this golden cord, this the tandem between Vex and
Hmm.
Vax. There's a literal like soul tie between his
Yep.
sister
Dope.
between him and his sister who's laying on the ground, and the matron of ravens basically snaps it. She just walks and with a finger lifts up and then cuts it. And before she's about to take the body away, Vax makes a deal like, take me. And so I was assuming, like probably everybody that was watching assumed that he was going to die instead. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'll die instead. Take me, don't take my sister. But that's not what happens. Vex is revived in that moment. It's pretty cool. They don't show you exactly what happened right then and there. There is no like immediate gratification where he just falls dead and then she wakes up. He just suddenly has the vestige on.
Yeah. He appears
She
suited
wakes
and
up, they're
booted.
crowding around. He's suited and booted with the vestige of divergence. Cash and Zara notice it, like
haters. They are haters. Like
They
this
were haters to the supreme
supreme haters.
because they start planning stuff as they're going through this tomb. So now it's time to get out of the tomb. And again, Cash and Czar predictably dip off ahead of the group. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and they notice immediately this time at least. They're like, "Hey, where did they go? They
They
going
left us
again?"
again. God.
Yeah. Just when I was hating them, they had to make me say, "Yes,
Yes.
yes,
I
Andrea."
cared.
So yeah, they're walking off, and they're up in this like mezzanine area in the tomb. And my girl uses the trinket she was talking about that she took from a demon, and then pulls some monster out to thwart them from getting out. This thing was like a one eyeball, as a bunch of tentacles.
Yeah. Something it felt like something out of Watchmen or something. I don't know, just a one-eyed
Yeah,
monster with tentacles. I was like, okay.
or something.
And
I'm like,
it was she was doing them dirty because she was like, well, if this vestige is as powerful as we think it is, and they'll be able to just survive this. I'm like, yo, you petty. You
yeah.
big petty. All right, cool.
You can tell at this point Cash isn't totally into it, but he's not stopping her either. He's like, yo, then why are
Yeah,
we doing this? He's like, well, what's done is done. But yeah, they end up getting like this thing has these tentacles that are flying everywhere, and they're trying to fight them off and basically just avoid the tentacles. And then we find out that if it catches you, it like turns you to stone or petrifies you.
yeah, shocks you or something, and then you like turn stuff. Oh, that was
You
really
like, yeah, you
cool.
like turn to stone. So they're dealing with this, and they're just sitting there watching them the whole time. And then Cash, at the last moment, has a change of heart
I'm
and
going in
jumps
there.
in to try and free them. Gets stuck himself, and Zara, for whatever reason, follows him later, and then she gets stuck.
She gets petrified. I'm like, you goofy. I'm like, all y'all
It was,
goofy.
yeah, that was kind of that was needed though. She deserved that.
She almost fell into your own trap. That's what you
Yeah,
get.
fell into
Well,
his own trap.
also, I feel like we glossed over like the vision that Vax has after he puts on the armor before they
Oh,
get into the area.
yeah, I think, but that's slow. At first he sees uh, what's it?
Oh, he
Car.
sees that room that has like it has like artwork on it, and it looks
Yeah,
like a bunch of gods or like other champions or all of
other
the
champions and they're like seem like war scenes are playing out before him that
yes.
nobody else can see. Because he says that, he says, "Do you see this?" And no one's. They continue walking, and then they're going down, and after that is when the trap happens. But during the fight, he keeps seeing these visions of different places. He sees the matron of ravens. He also sees her champion at one point up on this like cliff face. And then I don't know if they show him actually walking up to the cliff face, but eventually he's standing before the champion.
Yeah,
And
like a
Homeboy just
samurai
starts
duel.
attacking him. So his eyes go gray while everybody else is fighting and running around. My boy's like, he's sitting there behind some cover,
Hiding
zoning
behind a
out.
rock. It's not even here,
And
y'all.
the creature sees him, but doesn't seem to be attacking him for whatever reason.
Yeah, which was very interesting. Like, he's not a threat, I
Yeah,
guess.
he's got that one big eyeball that's just like zooming everywhere,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to see everybody else and throw tentacles at them. Um, and it seems like eventually what ends up happening is Vax just doesn't fight. Because when he's getting whooped in these visions. Every time he
His
tries to
hands were broken. His hands were broken and purple. I was like,
yeah,
bro, your fingers are broken and purple.
my
I don't know how
boy's
you're gonna
eye was
fight this.
black, he was looking all crazy, and then finally he just gives himself up, and then that's when
A little sis makes him give up.
yeah, the younger version of Vex.
Hmm.
And the champion slashes through him, but nothing happens. He doesn't fall, he doesn't die, but then all of a sudden the champion kneels.
Had to
So does
free
that mean that
himself.
he's now the new champion?
Yes, he's the champion.
So we know now that's what it was. It wasn't that he gave his life in trade for his sister. He's basically in servitude to the matron of ravens, because they also flash to a death scene, I believe, later, that he's now got that soul tie that was to Vex is now soul
To
tied
her,
to the matron, because
mhm.
he tried. We in the vision they come up on this like barn or house, and it's obvious the man is dying and the woman is crying at the bedside, and he tries to back out. Vax tries to back out of the room, and then the matron of ravens pulls on that golden soul tie attached to his soul, and pulls him back into the room. Like, no,
Hmm.
this is part of what you got to do now. So we now basically know a little bit more about what he's given up in exchange
He's
for.
like a Grim Reaper, right? That was
I
my
don't know.
assumption. That was my assumption based on what they were showing us. Like, he has to be some type of like, outside of being a champion, he has to be some type of like Grim Reaper, bringer of death,
Or Avatar for,
or have somebody who be like, "Hey, it's time to die, time to go to
yeah.
sleep."
Yeah, so
So
he's obviously some avatar for the matron of ravens, the goddess of death in this world. And once he does that, like he comes out of his trance, we get these golden glyphs that light up on the armor. And my
that
boy,
was fire. I was
yeah,
happy. I was
he
so
goes
happy.
full Matrix. Like he's faster than everybody else. He's like teleporting everywhere, and the big ass eyeball is trying
It's
to
just
follow him.
jumping. It's like, where I can't keep up with him.
He got to the point where he was actually running on the tentacles as the creature was shooting at him. He
Yep.
was slashing some of them, then he was running on the tentacles themselves. Uh, as the thing is distracted, I think how I forget
It was,
how they got revived because
was it Cash who brought him back?
Cash started reviving them back slowly, but I forget who revived Cash. Was it Pike? Because Pike was already frozen.
Right. I thought everybody was frozen,
Yeah,
but Vex.
yeah.
We're stuck.
You
This
have to
is one of the things
rewatch
you got to
that.
go rewatch. I don't know
Yeah,
who. I'm curious now who brought who back because they would have had
yeah.
to been somebody else.
Yeah, because Cash starts reviving everybody, um, even Zara. The funny thing is that he revived Zara first. Like
Of course he did.
I'm like, come on now.
That's my
And then
girl.
goes
Yeah.
about reviving everybody else, and everybody just sitting there and watch Vax work.
Hmm.
they
I'm
just,
watching him go to work.
yeah, they're watching him go to
He
work.
won't go to work. He'll go
He's
to
just
work.
whooping ass, and they're all just like, whoa, what is going on? And Vex can't believe it. She's like, Vex, like what is happening? My boy does kills the monster by throwing a knife into the eyeball, and then that wasn't good enough. So my
Where's
boy like
Stefan?
jumps in the air, kicks the knife in the eyeball, and then finally splats down and is destroyed. And
Amazing.
that's the end. Toward most of the end of the big fight scene is over, but it's not at the end of the episode because they have to resolve the mess with Cash and Zara, and they sort of do that.
Mhm.
So Malik Goins is laughing. They sort of remedy that situation. She gives the trinket that she has. It's funny I call it a trinket because that's what Vex is going to use now to hide trinket inside this pocket dimension, basically,
Mention,
in
yeah.
this thing. Decides that hey, and then Grog wants. He's like, yeah, I got next. He wants to be transported into the dimension,
No, Grog, no.
and then they leave them. I still don't trust them, or I think somebody else probably is
You
going to come
shouldn't. Logically, you shouldn't. If they
back. Yeah,
come back, that'll be
I'm
interesting. That'll
wondering if
cause
someone
some
else from
issues.
the guild is going to come, if not them now.
Right.
But those seem to be the most that they're tied to. Uh, and now that they saved Zara, Vex is like, well, what about my debt to the guild? And she's like, what debt? Like, we're
Right.
even. They leave off. So now we know they're going to go off and search for more things, more of these talisman that the Sphinx told them to go get. It was a cool episode. Both of these two episodes were nice. I like where they're going. I still don't see how they get to Elder Dragon levels of danger yet when they've only got this one kit of super magical armor, and maybe some of the gifts of the Matron of Ravens will help them now because they've
I
got.
mean, everybody has to have like. If it would be nice if everybody got a cool artifact
I
that
think that's
helped.
what's going to
That
happen.
everybody like, 'cause Grog already has the blood sword, so
Yeah.
they got to keep that in the mix. We got to keep the cures.
In a way, Pike already because she's been reattached to the light. Remember this for a bit in season one, she had lost
Oh
her
yeah, she got. I
and
want her to get something else. Everybody got to
something
get
else. You
something
want to
else.
get something physical, something
Yeah,
tangible she
she got
carries
to
with
get
her.
something else. Everybody has to get something new that's gonna boss them up, so they can
Yeah.
fight these dragons. Because they're gonna need it. Because they
That
dragons.
light hammer was cool when she was riding Trinket and smashing stuff with the hammer of light.
Oh yeah, that was cool. She was
Yeah,
busting up
but you
places.
wanted to get the actual talisman to have along with everybody else. I wonder
Mhm.
what Vex is going to get.
That is a good question too.
And Keela, or does Keela already have it because she's
She just needs more power. So like she needs to activate her little avatar state more and like develop her abilities. Like she has a good set of powers. Like she just needs to master it, like, all the elements. That's all she
like
needs.
it's like a Wizard of Oz. She just needs the confidence, like if only had a brain. She got to know what she's doing
Yeah,
type.
basically
When
that
she
too.
realizes she is smart and she is powerful, that she'll be able to pull things off. Um, so I'm assuming you're liking the series so far as
Of
well.
course. I mean, I like the first one.
Yeah,
This is it was funny when you brought up Willow and I'm like, get that out of here. In my head, I'm like, get that out of here.
because we
This is
didn't like Willow, but
because we didn't like Willow.
yeah.
I'm like,
But
this
my
is how
thing
you
was
do it.
the
This is how
the
you
the
do it.
trope though of the cuirass or the vestige or a set of magical armor that they were going to find. This is the first one. Then only difference is they didn't have a bunch of pieces of the armor to put together. It's just and it magically formed on him. He didn't actually pick
Right.
it up. They never went through the sarcophagus or anything. It just popped on him magically, and now he has it. And they were trying to figure out how to get it from him immediately, like Cash and Zaro. Like, well, what do we do now? Well, he's got it. Well, we'll just freeze them all, take
He's
it
got
off of him, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, this was a cool episode, and just like Andrea said, like just just when she was hating on Vex, they made her care about the character, and now they revived the character. So I wonder how she's gonna feel.
I want to know why Andrea didn't like Vex so much. That's what I want to know.
She does have a horrible attitude, though. Vex
What
does.
I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do.
That and I'm the only one that's right. And don't tell me what to do, and I'm
But
basically
that's
eager to shut up.
and that's why when she died, I was like, she should have listened, but her character she did what she does. She don't
Yeah,
listen. That's how it is. That's how it be with siblings sometimes. You
yeah.
get
Vex was like, I was gone for 30 seconds.
and you gone. You
Yeah,
gone. I was like, I've been there. I know how Vax felt. My sister's done that to me plenty of times. I'm supposed to watch her and I turn around, she's gone and we're in the store. I'm like, oh goodness gracious.
yeah.
I was like, I know how it feels, buddy. I was there when I was young.
Well, thank you for chopping it up with me
Of
about
course.
this. The two people, I don't know if that's still Andrea and Malik, but thank you, whoever's watching on the live, for sitting with us for a few minutes to talk about Vox Machina. We'll be uploading the audio to this to Spotify via Anchor, to Google and iTunes. So check us out over there. There'll be links in the description to our various websites. That can be Andrea's link tree, so you can get her sci-fi and fantasy books, my author website, and Jordan's Shopify, so you can check out some of his arts and his projects as well. Don't forget to check out Trek and Beyond, another podcast, Discover Discovery with them, with Andrea Rose Washington and Monica Pinkett. And we will talk to you all next week.
Peace.